What's going on, everybody? You're listening to episode 12 of the Point NHL Recap Show. I'm Pascal Pereira, once again joined alongside by Mark Howrlack. Mark, how are your holidays, man? We got to start off there.
Pretty good, buddy. Some nice time, like with the family, just laying low for a couple of days. A little bit more hectic last couple of days for me. I just got a new puppy, so kind of training her and stuff, but it's been quite fun. We're going to talk a lot about the World Juniors today. I've definitely watched some of it. I'd probably like to watch a little bit more than I have. Just been a little bit busy, but how you doing, man? I know you were just in Calgary. You got to see a Flames game. How was that, and how was the trip overall?
Yeah, Calgary was a great time. It's always a lot of visiting whenever we go out there. I think we were out for like 6 or 7 days, and the only day we weren't just visiting with family was the Calgary Flames night where I went to the game. That game was a blast, but honestly, man, walking to the Saddle Dome, dude, it's...
Need a new arena.
Yeah, they need a new arena pretty bad. The Saddle Dome's nice because it looks pretty cool in the skyline. It looks nice on the outside, but then you sort of walk in, it's just super outdated, man. The concessions aren't that great. Washrooms are pretty small. Getting up to the nosebleeds is awful. Even for the broadcasters, we were talking about this before we started recording. You were saying instead of having a box for the broadcasters, it's just a catwalk, which is
yeah, they got to walk across.
Dude, I'm not walking across that, man.
I'm too afraid of heights to do that for sure.
Yeah, I couldn't do that. But yeah, overall holidays were a good time. So you mentioned the World Juniors. The only shitty thing about being out in Calgary is that with a 2-hour time difference, instead of games starting at 8:30, games are starting at 6:30. So I haven't been able...
Dude, there's 6 a.m. games too, so you're not even touching those 4 a.m. games.
The first Canada game I didn't watch because that was a 6:30 start for me. I watched maybe a couple highlights, but I haven't been able to watch too much just with visiting family and the time change. But now that I'm back in Ontario and not as much visiting family, I'll be able to watch a bit more. I think we should start off, though, with the Canada-U.S. debate, because going into this tournament, it was a big debate. Who's the better team this year? U.S. looks really strong with all their college and collegiate players. Canada, you don't have those top-end talent players as per usual. I will say United States are playing Czechia right now. We're recording on the Friday, just a day late, so we can have some more games here to go off of. It's 3-3 in a shootout right now, so this could be a big game here for that Pool B standings.
Keep refreshing my page here to see who wins.
Yes, same.
Because honestly, we're getting into a bit more, but this is a kind of a big game for the States because they're playing Slovakia next, who's 3-0. So that game's going to really matter for positioning, right, in the standings. This whole U.S.-Canada debate, obviously, Canada's looked pretty good so far in this tournament, to be quite honest. Especially against Finland. They kind of shut Finland down right away, kind of took control of that game. Their second game, obviously, 10-0. I mean, there's only so much, you know what I mean? The other team can do in that when you're playing a team like Latvia who's not too strong. I felt like they held themselves in there for a little bit of time, and then kind of in that second period, Canada opened up the game and they started scoring a bit. Carson Rakoff, actually, 2 goals
he
that
looked
game.
Really good.
Dude, that goal, that I think it was that 3 or 4-0 goal, was really nice. So you cut into the zone there. You kind of I felt like at that point it was even though I didn't think Latvia was going to come back anyway, it was okay, that's kind of the goal that's dagger in the hearts, you know what I mean? But this Macklin Celebrini kid, obviously he's been hyped a lot going into the draft this year, however you want to call it, in 2024. But man, he's very talented. Even when he's not been producing, he has been producing, but when he's not putting points on the board, he's their most effective player, I feel. He skates really well. Seems like he's got a really good mind for the game as well. Curious to see where he's going to end up going this year, man, because this is another year. Obviously, I'm not comparing him to Bedard because I don't think they're on the same level, but it's I feel like this kid can be a franchise-changing player down the road.
For sure he will be. I agree with you there that he will be. For me, I think what this tournament is doing for Macklin Celebrini is really, he's showing that he's the no doubt number 1 overall pick in this year's draft. The fact that he's doing what he's doing as a 17-year-old, not only in the World Juniors this year, but also in college hockey, because he's going to be just turning 18 when he's drafted, right? He's a later birth year. But there has sort of been that debate, Cole Eiserman, Macklin Celebrini for the first half of this sort of hockey season. But with Cole Eiserman not being at the World Juniors and not being able to display his talent there, and also the fact that Macklin Celebrini for his regular season is playing in a harder league because we can all say that collegiate hockey's harder than
100%.
USNDP.
But he's also putting up like insane numbers there too, right?
Celebrini?
He's putting up like 2 points a game, like very comparable to what Fantilli was doing with Michigan.
And Fantilli, if you take Bedard out, like Fantilli, I guess Carlson did go ahead of him, but like,
dude, that draft is just different.
Yeah, and I feel like in the past like 5 years, there's a couple of drafts there where Fantilli would have gone first overall.
100%.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's like, we're talking about Leo Carlson. Like, if Michkov was also coming to the NHL right away, like, where the heck would he have gone? Like, we could be talking about Fantilli going fourth if Michkov was available to come over right away, too, right? So I feel like this 2023 draft class, it's really special so far. I think Cole Yzerman's going to be a hell of a player as well. I just don't think that he's comparable to Celebrini at this point. I think Celebrini's probably got a little bit more of an upside than him at this point. He kind of does everything. And the whole thing with him and Fantilli, like, they're doing the same things in their draft year of college. Dude, like, he is like 6 months younger than Fantilli was at this point when they were playing college. So it's even more impressive at that point.
I'm pretty sure Fantilli was already 18 years old playing in the World Juniors because he had the visor on last year. Where
And the thing is that Celebrini's not even turning 18 until July. He's going to be drafted first overall potentially as 17 years old. So, I mean, if I'm the Sharks, man, I'm licking my chops, man. Like, I am wanting this kid so bad if I was a Sharks fan or even anyone in their organization. We'll see how it ends up playing out. Obviously, we've seen if you don't end up... If you finish last, I mean, you're not guaranteed to get that first overall pick. But, I mean, this is another year where there's some special talent up there in the draft. This whole Canada-US thing, though, I really want to see them play each other. It's obviously not going to happen until the playoffs of some sort.
It would be the finals, no?
I just don't think USA has like really shown their potential yet, to be quite honest with you. Their top 9 is stacked. They have 8 first-round picks in the top 9, and their other guy who is in the top 9, it wasn't drafted in the first round, was Gavin Brindley, who went to Columbus last year, and he was picked like 34th, like right outside that first round. So it's like you almost have 9 first-round picks, and I think this is why Yzerman's not there, because it's like, you got to take out one of these guys, and then what is Yzerman? If not, he's playing on the fourth line. Like, he's not really going to be that effective there. Like, I kind of understand why he's not on the team, to be honest. He's going to be on the team next year 100%, though, because it doesn't seem like he's going to the NHL. He's committed to BU, and I think he's probably going to end up going that route, at least for, like, the season. So he's probably going to be on the team next year. That James Hagen's kid as well, who's available in 2025, he'll most likely be on the team next year as well. I don't know what it is about this U.S. team right now, man. They haven't shown their full potential, like I was saying. Like, they're in a shootout with Czechia right now.
They, sorry to cut you off there, but it's official now. U.S. beat them in the shootout. It was Isaac Howard who scored the shootout goal. It looks like it went a couple rounds here. 5, 6 maybe rounds, Yeah,
Gabe Perreault. Yeah, and then Isaac Howard, 7 rounds. Czechia missed in the 7th round. So, I mean, but still, like, USA, that's a 3rd win. That's a shootout win, though, dude. So Slovakia has tops of the groups right now. So USA is kind of almost forced to win the next game in regulation if they want to get that top seed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's going to be really interesting. I don't know if you want to touch a little bit more on Canada and Slovakia. I know, like, we were talking about, like, who the heck is this Owen Allard kid? And like, what is he doing?
He's looked great for Canada so far.
So even like Bob McKenzie was saying, like, he was supposed to be brought in as like a penalty killer guy, 4th line, whatever. Dude, he's pretty good offensively.
Yep.
I'm kind of surprised he's not drafted. I think that this tournament might get him as like a 20-year-old draft pick this year, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because he's been pretty effective this tournament.
Why not take a flyer on him in a later round? For the whole Canada-US debate, though, the thing that I'm sort of seeing so far is that maybe for the U.S. there's too many skill guys, too many cooks in the kitchen, where for Canada Canada really has a mix of like players who can play up and down the lineup, right? Like this Owen Allard kid, he's a great bottom 6 forward, where it's like when you look at Team USA, like all their players are like
just high skill,
first, second line players. They don't really have any 3rd, 4th line like willing to go in the corners and really like battle it out type players.
The one guy for that, and I think it's more he's a high skill player too, is Ryan Leonard. He's kind of like a dog out there. Like he's
not a unicorn though.
Not that he's gonna be him, but he has a lot of comparables to like the Tkachuk brothers. The way he plays his game. With Canada though, like it's I think you're right. Like they have guys that are kind of willing to do everything. They're kind of top skilled off like defensemen, and then they also have guys that can shut it down back there, like Jake Furlong and a couple of those guys. And I'll be honest, like we questioned their goaltending going in this tournament.
They've been good.
C.S. Rousseau started both games. He's getting the start again today, and he's been pretty solid, man. Like I can't lie whatsoever. Obviously, it's been a huge question mark, but so far he's playing really well. It seems like maybe at this point he's getting the net for all 4 games. Unless they're gonna, if they win tonight, are they gonna give another kid the net for the next game? I don't know how it's gonna end up playing out, but I think he deserves the start so far. To be honest, played really well against Finland, played well against Latvia as well. So that hasn't really been a huge question mark for me in this tournament so far. Honestly, happy with Carson Rakoff though. I don't know if you saw, he was supposed to be scratched against Latvia, and then they ended up scratching him, and he scored 2 goals. So I mean, they're getting contributions up and down the lineup. I really like Owen Beck and like the bottom 6 kind of. You see Celebrini start on the 4th line, dude. Like I don't think he's gonna end up being there, but it's just weird to me considering he's probably their most skilled offensive forward and he's sitting on the 4th line.
It always happens with the younger players though. Like last year, Fantilli started on the 3rd line, I believe, and then by the end of the tournament, he was like 1st line power play, 2nd line centerman.
And I don't know if you remember when. The 2018 year, the year that where it's all under investigation right now, but Dominic Ducharme was the coach and Makar started as a 7th defenseman.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know, these high skill guys, just because they're younger, they start like lower in the lineup, but I'd expect Celebrini to be up there. I don't know if he'll end up leading the tournament in scoring. I think that's the other thing too, right? Like he was leading going into today in points, 6 points, but they're getting points from everyone. Like I wouldn't be surprised if Canada won the gold medal and they didn't have the leading scorer in the tournament, because I just think that they have enough guys up and down the lineup contributing that that might not be the case. You know what I mean?
Connor Geeky's another guy that
he's been looking pretty sweet as well.
Have
yeah.
you seen his style though? The way he tapes his stick.
Yeah, it's kind of.
Guy's got like a 5-pound knob on his stick, man.
So that he was drafted in 2022, and I was very into that draft because the Habs had 1st overall.
Yeah,
dude, like I don't know what it is. I don't even recognize the kid. Like he went 10th overall, and I didn't even know it was him. He just looks so much different than like 2 years ago. He like,
grew up
matured and like everything. So. I thought that was like a very odd pick for them at 10, but this year, even in the WHL, he's been very good. So I'm curious to see how this tournament keeps going. I really hope Canada and US are able to play each other. I don't know if there's anything else you got to add about them, but there's one team I kind of want to talk about that we talked about pre-tournament.
Yeah, I'm done for the Canada-US debate. I know there's probably a team you want to talk about here. Are they a surprise team or no?
I don't know if they're like a surprise, maybe a little bit, but like Slovakia, dude. Like I was talking about them pre-tournament. I guess it's surprising for a lot of people, but not for myself. Like they're 3-0 right now. They just beat Norway 8-4 today. They've been playing some pretty good hockey in this tournament, dude. Like they're obviously going to have a huge test coming up playing the U.S. on New Year's Eve, but dude, like it would not surprise me one bit if they beat them in that game, to be honest with you. Like Servek Petrovsky right now, he's a Minnesota Wild prospect, plays in the OHL for Owen Sound, 4 points today. He's got 8 in the tournament in 3 games. He's currently leading. Maxime Sturback on defense, we were talking about him a little bit. He's got 6 points in 3 games. He's playing in the NCAA right now. They're getting contributions from everywhere, and this goalie that I was talking about, Adam Guyan, first goalie off the board last year.
Phenomenal in this tournament.
He is so athletic.
Yeah.
He let in 4 goals today. I'll be honest, a couple of them he didn't really stand a chance on, but going into today, dude, he was like 2-0, 2 goals against, .969 save percentage. Like, people forget about the Slovakia team, dude. It took Canada overtime on Connor Bedard's highlight reel goal to eliminate these guys.
Yep.
Canada could have been out by 1 shot. I seriously think if you're putting your money on it, I think Slovakia is going to medal, man. I think they're looking really good this year, and they have some like top end players, man.
I think they
Mashar,
have more than
Hanzik.
enough.
And you know what the crazy thing is that Slavkovsky's eligible to play and Nemec is eligible to play.
Yeah.
So it's like they have even more talent that's not even there. It's good to see, man. I'm really happy for Slovakia. I don't know if you've been able to catch any of their games yet.
Not one. I don't think I've watched one full game yet. I've just sort of been watching like periods at time before like I have to go to a family function. I'll watch some of the highlights. I haven't watched one full game yet. So
I think it'll just be a huge test for them against the U.S. though. I'm so curious to see how they're able to kind of hold in there, or if U.S. is just gonna like kind of put the floodgates open. I know they beat Switzerland 11-3 or whatever, but I don't know. I mean, Slovakia is a lot better of competition to me than Switzerland is, right? Slovakia shut them out a couple days ago, so I don't know. There's just some teams in this tournament, like, if you want to talk about surprising teams, like,
I think Norway for me.
yeah, dude.
Like the
First 3, but still,
the first game against the U.S., man. Like after that first period, going into the first intermission, I'm like, man, like, could we see an upset here? Could Norway like stun the world right now? Like, of course they didn't, but like
opening day tournament,
they looked really good on that first day against the U.S., and it looked like they could give the U.S. there like a shot of their money, at least for the first period. Of course, didn't happen, but yeah, Norway, like. They haven't looked like one of those true relegation teams where it's like every game they're out of it the whole time, like Latvia does at points.
Yeah, 100%. Dude, what did I tell you about? Did you see this kid, Branson Nygaard? Like,
yeah, he's
really
nasty.
good, dude. He had 2 goals today against Slovakia. He scored an opening night, too. He's definitely their best player. And honestly, dude, I think he's probably ended up going pretty high in the draft this year. He's looking pretty good, and it's good. It's good for Norway as a whole for hockey going forward.
When we were talking about the sort of European teams there, I just had a thought coming to my mind. Like, when I've been watching these games, the one big thing that I've noticed is the attendance, man. Like, some of these games look empty. And the other thing, too, is, like, they're not massive rinks. It's not like it's in Canada and you're at the, like, Saddle Dome or I'm playing in Toronto and it's, like, 18,000 people these buildings hold. Like, I don't know the exact attendance, but, like, I don't think any of these buildings hold over 10,000 people. And like the one rink especially looks really bad. Like the one rink, which is the smaller one, like, dude, at times it looks like there's like 100 people there. Like, what do you think of the whole attendance thing? Have you noticed that?
Quite surprising, man.
Yeah.
Like, obviously the Sweden games have been okay because they're the hosts, but you'd think, like, I forget who I was watching a couple days ago. It was like Finland and someone, and I was like, you'd think Finland would get, I think it was Finland, Germany. And it's like, those countries aren't that far. Like, you'd think they'd get a little bit more attendance. I know
in Europe, that's like maybe a couple hours travel.
The first couple Canada games I saw, they had like 3,500 Canadians there, like that have traveled over. There's been quite a bit of support from Canada to like that I've seen at least. So we talked about pre-tournament how I like the European World Juniors because the attendance and the atmosphere is so much better. But I haven't seen it this year whatsoever. Hopefully it'll come soon and potentially like in the playoffs. Sweden's obviously doing pretty good so far. I don't know if I've like underrated them a little bit. I didn't say they were bad. I just said I don't think they're as good as past years. But dude, they haven't even I know they've been playing weaker teams, but they haven't let a goal yet. They're playing Canada, and then they're gonna have to play Finland on New Year's Eve right now. So I mean, this is their real test, obviously, right? But you got to give credit where it's due with the goalies. Like, they don't let in a goal. You can't just be like, oh, they play a crap team. Well, you can let in goals against crap teams. You know what I mean? So Sweden's looking decent so far. Curious to see how they do against Canada. Today is obviously like a
currently 0-0 halfway through the first.
Yeah. So I mean, big test for both teams. Sweden's got the home crowd on their side. They have some good players, though, too, man. Like, I don't know if you saw, like, Otto Stenberg, the St. Louis Blues prospect. He's pretty sweet as well. Back on defense, like, Sandin Pellikka won in the first round last year. He's looking pretty good. Tom Willander won in the first round last year. He's looking good. Salamonson. I don't know if you saw him, dude. He got kicked out of the game 25 seconds in a couple days ago against Latvia. It was not too great of a hit, to be quite honest with you. Probably deserved to be at least, like, out of the game, but... Going back to Canada for a second, did you see that whole Ty Nelson hit against Latvia?
I loved it, man. I loved it. I think the NHL needs to do more of this because, like, it forces you to get the call right. Yes, it adds some extra time and you're waiting, but you're getting the call right at the end of the day.
Okay, like, I agree. Did you not think in the moment, though, that it was like a bad knee?
No.
So when I watched it...
My biggest thing I hate, dude, honestly, is like, I understand the knee-on-knee thing, but when the player going to make the hit has already, like, taken that positioning on the ice, and then the player with the puck tries to, like, dance his way out of the hit and it ends up being a knee-on-knee, I don't think they should call that. I don't think they should call that.
I don't think it's a knee at all.
It wasn't a knee at all.
When I saw it in real time, I was like, holy crap, that is a bad knee. He's getting kicked out of this game. They show it again. And I was like, dude, he put his ass out, and it hit his knee. But it's like, dude, the guy's trying to get out of the way. Like, there's no other way he could hit than he did. Obviously, there's a couple other ways, but dude, that Nelson kid hits like a truck.
He's a
dude.
big fella.
Plays in North Bay in the O. He was a first overall pick to the O a couple years ago. Seattle Kraken prospect. Like I think he's gonna be a force, dude. Like probably like some sort of shutdown D that can also like produce offensively.
Like Jacob Trouba, maybe.
Dude, they got that call right. That was not even a penalty.
No, yeah,
it was not a penalty.
I loved what they did there, but yeah, like for the knee on knee thing, man. Like I hate when players try to like just take the hit. Just take the hit.
Yeah.
Because if you like. If I'm going to hit a guy and I've already established that part of the ice, and it ends up being a knee on knee, like at the end of the like, if you don't stick your leg out, like it's not your fault. It's
100%.
The guy that needs to protect himself. Like the Kyle Connor one, I felt was a bit like that, where people were ripping on Strome. Like Strome did have that, like he established that part of the ice. Kyle Connor sort of went to go dance out of the way, and
you can't
that
just
ended up with the knee on knee.
Defending player to like have his legs close together.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean.
Or like be like pull out of a hit because he's trying to.
Dude, like what do they teach? Like what do they teach you half the time? Like when you're in your when you're standing in your stance, it's like bend your knees and like your legs have to be like decently far apart.
Glutes nice and wide.
Exactly.
Get the
like,
glutes
you have
working.
no power whatsoever if your legs are together and you're not bending your knees. Like you're potentially in the risk of getting like bowled over. You know what I mean? So. Sorry, go ahead. No, I don't really. You go for it. Don't worry.
So I was going to ask you. We've already talked about some of our surprising teams and how any surprising players outside of the guys you've maybe already mentioned that are sort of shown out at the tournament, and also I have to mention here not draft eligible players, like any players that are like, oh wow, like as you mentioned, this Owen Allard kid. Like, is there anybody like that where it's like, oh wow, like this kid's pretty good. This kid's.
So there's this kid on Germany. His name's Veit Oswald. He's got a couple goals.
A name.
Yeah, he's got a couple goals. I don't think he's drafted whatsoever. Not to my recollection. He's played pretty good for the Germans, to be quite honest with you. Germany's been a team that they actually held in there. I felt yesterday against Sweden. They ended up losing 5-0, but it was 1-0 like halfway through the game. They kind of just like opened up the floodgates a little bit. And obviously Germany came out and beat Finland a couple days ago as well, which I thought was a pretty big surprise, to be quite honest with you. I thought the Finns, like they got a decent roster. Obviously they beat Latvia today 4-0, which I don't even think is that.
It's not that impressive against Latvia.
Like, you know what I mean? So I don't know, man. I don't know if the Finns are in trouble. I think beating Latvia is more or less going to solidify their spot in the quarterfinals. But they got a huge test against Sweden on New Year's Eve. The way that Sweden's playing Canada right now and the way they've looked so far, like I think Finland might be in a little bit of trouble. I think they're my surprise team in like a negative way. Like I haven't seen too much from them that has impressed me a lot, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, they haven't looked too great. I think they gotta figure something out here quick, or else
they're not scoring. Like against Germany, man, it almost felt like. Look, Germany played really good, but it felt like a lot of those goals, like they kind of like handed it to them. Like it didn't seem like Germany really like deserved at least a goal in that moment. You know what I mean? That Oswald kid is looking pretty good. They have another kid on their team. Dude, this kid is like 5'8". His name is. So there's brothers, and one of them already played. It's either Moritz Elias or Florian Elias. I think it's Moritz. Dude, this kid's like 5'8". Dude, you should see the stick he uses. Mike Johnson was talking about how younger guys sometimes will use longer sticks to like get that reach out.
Yeah.
Dude, it looks like he's using a mini stick out there. Like, I think it's like below his chin, like to his neck level, and he's 5'8". So he's got some pretty nifty hands. He played in the WHL last year, but he's been playing in the DEL this year. Like, I think he's still eligible to be drafted, but his draft year's passed, right? So it's more or less, can you show that you're that much better? Like this Allard kid, I think a huge thing with him not being drafted they were talking about was his draft year 2 years ago. He was on the fence of being drafted. He could have been picked. He could have not been. And
it was the whole COVID thing too.
And teams were like, okay, let's see what he can do next year. Well, last year, he had shoulder surgery and only played 14 games. So are you really going to draft a guy who played 14 games in his overager year? Probably not. Now this year, they're getting a way better look at this kid, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets drafted this year.
Yeah, for me, some of the surprising players are a lot of these European guys, just because I don't follow them as much. Like Philip Massar, I follow a bit more because he's playing in North America, playing for the Kitchener Rangers. But man, I think he's looked really good at this tournament so far. Like, what was he drafted? Early second round, late first round,
like 24th overall.
So yeah, late first round. Like, man, this guy looks like he's going to be like a top 6
NHL player,
25, 30 goal scorer. Even like, and that's like, I think that's like maybe like a ceiling. Or I mean, the floor from. Like, I think he could be a 40-goal scorer, not
I
consistently.
think he's more of like a playmaker, to be honest. He's very.
That's fair.
To be honest with you, I see a lot of like Nick Suzuki in his game. He's very like slippery, knows how to pass, very smart for the game. Like I would say like he's a lot faster than Nick Suzuki. Like
yeah, he's,
you know what I mean? Suzuki's more of like slow the play down, kind of like very nifty. But like Massar's got a lot of speed and he knows what to do with the puck at that top speed. It's a difference between being fast and like being fast with the puck. You know what I mean? Like people always say to me, "Oh, well, Connor McDavid lost the fastest skater competition. He's not the fastest guy in the league." Okay, bro, but the difference is, can Jordan Kyrou skate that fast with the puck that McDavid does?
Yeah.
No. Like, you know what I mean? So like that's a huge difference from just being fast, and being fast with the puck and being able to create. And I think Machar like has really learned how to do that. I think it was a little bit of an underwhelming season for him in Kitchener last year. I know he was like a point per game player. And a lot of like Habs fans were like, "Oh my God, we passed on that." Like we passed on like Yuri Kulich and all these other guys. And it's like, Kulich is a great player, but this is was his first year in North America last year. He's getting used to the ice. He also started in Laval. He's going back to Kitchener. He wasn't even in like a spot. And the same thing happened to him this year. And I think this year he's just so much more comfortable. I don't know if it's the sense where like Arcuri's gone, Pinelli's gone, and he's like more of the guy with Rakoff this year, but he's been good in junior and he's been good in the World Juniors this year.
Yeah, he's looked really good. Another guy I think that's looked good, and wasn't really on my radar too much coming into this tournament, was Jimmy Snuggerud.
Sick, dude.
St. Louis Blues prospect, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
He's looked really good.
He can shoot the puck, dude.
I knew
hat trick against Switzerland the first period.
I knew he was good, but I didn't know he was like this good where
he was actually drafted around the same range Machar was, late first round, and it seems like it's going to be a really good pick
both
for the
those
Blues,
guys look like they should have been like lottery picks going back. Yeah, they've both looked phenomenal. I don't know if there's any other players you want to mention right now or not.
So like we talked about that Slovakian goalie for a little bit.
Guyan?
Yeah. The goaltending in this tournament hasn't been like blown me away as of yet, I guess. Like, but I don't know. I think that's still going to come. I really like the way that Rousseau has been playing for Canada. To be honest, he's undrafted. I don't know if he's going to end up getting drafted this year the way he's playing, like Milic did last year, right? Like he kind of stole the show and then earned him a draft spot. So
yeah.
Like Jacob Fowler in the U.S., honestly, like he's been a stud this year in college. I don't really think he's kind of found his footing in this tournament yet, to be honest. Like Augustine got that first game. He got that second game against Swiss, let up 3. He ended up starting again today because Augustine and Seamus Casey are sick, apparently. So Fowler got the nod, letting another 3 against Czechia. I'll be honest, I didn't get to watch it at all, so I don't know if the goals were like more on him, on the team, how many shots he even faced, to be quite honest with you.
From what I saw and what I was hearing, it sounded like the U.S. was just making some... Giving up some.
I did see that he stopped 6 of 7 in the shootout, though. So I mean, that's definitely a good sign. I do think if Augustine is healthy, though, that he'll probably get the start on New Year's Eve, just because he played well that first game, and he probably deserves it. I mean, you may as well split the net for 2 guys that are like college goalies, second round, third round picks. They're both like, I'd say like on par with each other, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And see whoever's playing better. If Augustine puts up a stud performance on New Year's Eve, give him the net in the quarterfinals. You know what I mean? You don't really have a huge issue there. Do you think Canada's gonna like go back to this like another guy for New Year's Eve? Do you think it kind of depends how today's game goes? Because it's not that common that Canada starts the same goalie all 4 games. That's one thing that's been I did not think that Rousseau was going to get the start today.
This is the most important game not the most important game of the tournament, but so far in the tournament, it's the most important game. Sweden and Canada are both undefeated, so whoever wins this game is going to claim that top spot and get the bye in this group, right? So I think if they win,
well, there's no buys.
I thought there.
No, it's one versus.
I thought it was top 3 in each group.
No, it's top 4. It's top 4, and then the 2 playing a relegation.
Sorry, so TSN's website is just really poor.
Unless it's changed this year, but I don't know if it is changed this year.
Give me a second here, because when I was looking at the TSN website, it looked like in the standings for the World Juniors, like there was a line below the 3. Like below the 3 marker. So
the one thing I do know that has changed is that I think the relegation, it's not 2 out of 3 anymore. It's only 1 game. But I don't know if the actual standings have changed, because before they used to do the top 4 and then just the relegation, like the two bottom teams fight to stay in the tournament for the next season. But
I think I might be wrong.
But it's still important. Like, but despite the bye, it's like, dude, like, you'd much prefer to be playing that 4 seed than the 3 seed.
But TSN's website, very misleading, because I'll say this. They have Canada, Sweden, Germany, and then there's like a pretty sharp line, and then you have Finland, Latvia, right? And then for Group B, you have United States, Slovakia, Czechia.
Let's see
another pretty sharp line, and then very misleading.
That kind of looks like you're right, though. Like, it kind of looks like...
That's why I was thinking there.
I don't know.
We'll have to do
I haven't
some
heard
research,
anything that has changed, to be honest. Like, as a Canadian fan, I'm not really worried about it. Like, I mean, they're pretty much in anyway, but that's going to change up a lot if it actually is like that. I don't think they would want to buy, though, dude. Do you?
No.
Like, I don't think you would want to buy.
I don't know. I wouldn't. It depends on your team and your goaltending situation. Like, if you're riding one guy, maybe you do want to buy. But like, back to Canada's goaltending, if they win this game and they've sort of clinched that top group in group, pardon me, that top spot in Group A, then I think they will sit him next game, because it's like, with or without the bye, like, you've sort of clinched.
Give the other guy a start, yeah.
Give the other guy a start.
They should be able to handle Germany, to be quite honest. As much as they've gotten a lot better and stuff, it's not going to be an easy game. It's like, you got to trust them against someone, man.
Yeah,
like,
and if
you know what I mean? Like, there's no point in being on the team if you're not going to trust them against, like, an opponent like that, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, this is the most important game. Start your best goaltender. That's what I do.
The one thing that, like, going back to Canada, but the one thing that I was very curious about to see with this team was that, like, last year they lost that opening game, then they kind of turned it around. They've been playing well this year, but there's only one guy back from last year. Like, that is so weird.
Who is it?
Owen Beck.
It's Owen Beck.
And you know what the thing was? He never even made the team last year. He was an emergency call-up because... I think it was Doc's brother got hurt.
Yeah, it was Colton Doc. I think he did he break his?
Yeah, he did something with an arm. He was out for a while.
Sling, yeah.
And the thing was, that was a lot easier for travel because they just went out to Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
But Nelson he didn't make the team either.
Yeah, he had to fly out.
He was a call up, so he flew out on Christmas. They were saying how Canada usually does their group photo on Christmas, and they couldn't because he wasn't there yet. So they did it yesterday when they had the day off.
They were like playing football on the ice too. And
I know that was pretty cool.
Yeah, Canada. I'm liking them so far at this tournament. Of course, at this tournament, the big thing is always the undrafted players. Like, what's going to happen with them? You're the big draft guy, Mark. Any players you think here where their stocks like really starting to rise or maybe falling a fair bit?
Well, that Branson Nygaard, I think he's proved to me that, like, he can play with... Because it's hard, right? He's playing in Allsvenskan, which is, like, the Tier 2 Swedish league.
Yeah.
So he's playing well there, but it's hard to judge, right? Like, he is playing against men, but it's also not the top competition. So he was a guy where I was coming in, it's like, he has no one really to play with. If you're going to be drafted high, like, you have to show that you can dominate by yourself.
Yeah.
Right? And not rely on someone else. And if I'm not mistaken, he's got at least 3 goals in this tournament. He's looking pretty good from what I've seen. I think there's a huge possibility he's going top 15 this year. I don't know if you've watched the States too much. This kid named Zeev Buim.
Yeah, I know you're big on him.
Holy crap, dude. He can skate like the wind. He's been playing on the third pair, but he's been playing really well. His draft stock to me has gone up since, like, the second the season started. Before the season started, it was like, he's probably going to go in the first round, maybe later on. Now it's like some people are talking about, like, he could get into the top 10. Like, his stats in college this year, he's over a point a game as a defenseman. Like, he's been playing really well. Those two guys for sure. Obviously, I think Celebrini's just proved that he's the undoubted first overall pick. I think there was, like, kind of a little bit of a debate between some people, but I think he's proved that he's going to be the number 1 overall pick this year. I don't really know how much too many guys I don't know how many other, like, draft eligible guys there really are in this tournament.
I have two guys to ask you about it.
Yeah.
The Finnish guy, Hellenis, I think is his name.
Konsta Hellenis.
Because we mentioned before the tournament, maybe he could sneak in the top 5 there. Who knows? Finland hasn't looked too great. I haven't watched any Finnish games. I don't know how he's doing, but
He hasn't been that as effective as I thought.
do you think he's fallen? Maybe like more like 10 to 15 range.
Maybe a little bit, but the thing for me, which is hard with him, it's like he starts off in Liga this year. Like it's difficult to put up huge numbers in the Liga or the SHL as a draft eligible guy. You look at Carlson last year. He had like solid numbers, but he's only sitting at like over half a point a game. He comes to the NHL, it's like, boom, he's good. With this Hellenis kid, it's like he starts in Liga. His first 17 games or so, he's got 6-7 points. Not terrible for a draft eligible guy. Dude, his next 16 games, 16 points in 16 games.
Yep.
So it's like, I can see it where he might not produce in this, but if he keeps going in Liga, like he could still go top 5.
Yeah.
Like, but I don't know if this tournament ruins his confidence a bit and he doesn't produce as much. Maybe we're talking about him even outside the top 10.
Yep.
So I mean, he's probably a guy that it's surprised that he hasn't done as well. That Emil Hemming though has not been bad. He's another guy that's also draft eligible this year. He's been producing a little bit this tournament. I think a little bit more than Hellenis has. To be honest with you, though, I do think Hellenis is a much better player. I think it's small sample size, too, right? It's only a couple games, so...
Yeah,
I don't know.
Who knows if Finland wins a couple games here, goes on a run.
He could be a huge reason for it, right? So... I really like that R2 Karki on the back end, too. He plays for Sioux.
Yep.
He's been kind of like anchoring their power play. I think he scored against Canada, or if not, he assisted on one of the goals. I really like him. Dude, he had 14 goals in the first 21 games of the OHL season this year as a defenseman. So he's got a really high offensive upside. I think Vegas got him like in the 3rd round last year or late 2nd. So it kind of seems like a little bit of a snag of a pick if you ask me. I just keep, like, when we're talking about, like, underachieving, I just keep thinking USA, man. Like, as a Habs fan, I'm just looking at, like, Fowler hasn't been as good as I've wanted, and I don't really think Hudson has either. I'd be expecting a little bit more from him, to be quite honest with you, but he could definitely turn it around. I don't know, man. It's so hard to tell. Like, I hate talking about this. Obviously, like we're here evaluating these guys, but it's like 2 games, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's crazy to say, like,
this guy's
been doing shit, and then next week the tournament's over, and it's like Hellenis might be the MVP, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It's such a small sample size. You see, dude, it's like, you think about the NHL. Matthews has got 29 goals in 31 games. Dude, there was a stretch this season where he had a goal and an assist in 7 games.
Yeah, it's
you know what I mean? So it's like you get hot, things start going, but there's also stretches where you're not going to play well, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm listening to Gretzky on Chicklets talking about, like, it's so right. He's like, dude, I had bad games. Bobby Orr had bad games. Like, Gordie Howe had bad games. Like, everyone has bad games at some point, dude. It's the same thing with Fowler, dude. Like, I don't know if this stage is getting to him. Maybe he's just not as comfortable. Dude, it could be something simple as frickin' jet lag, man. Like, you know what I mean?
That's a major thing.
For some of these guys going over. So it's so hard to judge. I hate hating on guys so early.
Yeah.
Because it's such a small sample size. Like, we're talking about the Habs, and it's like when I was ripping on Josh Anderson, he's kind of turning it around, actually.
He's been a lot better as of
and
recently.
It's like, the reason why I felt like I could say something about it is because we were getting into 20, 25 games where he hasn't scored. So it's like, you're working hard and whatever, but it's like, you get paid this money, dude. You got to produce at some point. And with these top prospects, it'd be really disappointing to see, like, Hudson not have a good tournament or Hellenis, like, not come up and produce, because, like, he's probably going to this tournament looking at, like, as much as he's not better than Celebrini, he's like, dude, this guy's supposed to go 1. Like, I'm going to prove that I'm better than him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, I think with the World Juniors, if you're a guy that's already been drafted, you're an NHL prospect, like, if you have a not great tournament, it doesn't hurt you as much. Where if you're a guy who isn't a prospect, hasn't been drafted, and you have a bad tournament or you have a good tournament, like, that's where it really affects those guys. Because, like, look at Slafkovsky, right? Like, Slafkovsky, if he didn't have the World Juniors and the World Championships that he did, like, we're not talking about that guy going first overall. Like, Shane Wright probably goes first overall that year, right? Like,
yeah.
I can't think of anybody else right now, but Tim Stützle. Like, Tim Stützle, if he doesn't have the World Juniors he had for Germany, like, maybe he goes more like 5 to 10 range, and he's not in the top 5 picks, right? Like, I think that's where it sort of affects the players more, having a good tournament or a bad tournament, is just those pre-draft guys. One more player I want to ask you about, though, is the younger Juracek, what are your thoughts on him so far?
So he's actually out.
He's not playing?
He got hurt.
Oh, my God, dude.
So
this shows how much I've been watching the tournament so far.
He played in that game against Slovakia, and he took a really awkward hit. He really screwed up his knee.
See what I mean? Like, this is a guy, man, now. It's like, if he doesn't play for 3-4 months, it's like, he's not going to go to the first round, I wouldn't think, but, like, maybe falls
out of the top 10, top 15, where, like, he's kind of projected at this point. And the one guy, like, he's not playing this tournament who it sucks he's not is this Aaron Kiviharju.
Yeah.
He could help Finland
I would have loved watching him, man.
He almost made the team last year. He was, like, their last cut, and then, obviously, he's hurt this year. He hasn't even played much. Man, like, honestly, like, 2 years ago, dude, like, people were talking about this guy going 1.
KVR, yeah, I remember that.
Like, it was like him, Celebrini. I don't even think Yzerman was really in the picture yet. It was like...
I think Hellenis was a bit around there.
Yeah. So, like, he could drop a ton. And it's like, when you look back to 2022, man, the guy I was hearing about for all those years with Shane Wright was Brad Lambert. Who went 28th overall to Winnipeg.
Was that the Atu Ratti year as well? Or was that 21 when he was drafted? Because at one point, Atu Ratti was like, people thought he was going to go first overall, and then he ended up going second round his draft year.
I know. And then now he's traded to Vancouver.
Yeah.
So, dude, it's like, dude, I wouldn't be surprised if Kiviharju drops like far.
Yeah.
Because you've seen this recently with Lambert, with who we just talking about?
Atu
Ratti. Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know, man. Like, Kiviharju, like, dude, like, if he goes, like, late, like, that could be a snag of a pick. If he can recover from his injury okay, because it's pretty serious. Like, he hurt his, like, knee or shoulder or something. He's out 4 or 5 months. So, that's going to be hard to recover from that and kind of... Because it's a lot of pressure, right? Like, you're out all this time, and it's like you're going to get back into the thick of things when games in your league are so crucial. And it's like you also have the pressure of all these scouts watching you.
And your body's changing too, so at that age, right?
He's a pretty small guy. Like, he's a very creative player, like a very solid skater all around. So he's not playing for Finland. That's definitely a guy that I feel like could have helped Karki out, like on the offensive side for Finland on the back end.
Yep.
Hopefully he's able to recover. I think he'll most likely be on the team next year because I don't think he's going to be like stepping into the NHL or anything like that. So hopefully he'll get the opportunity to play in his first World Juniors next year.
I think we'll just quickly update you guys on the Canada-Sweden game before we wrap things up here. It's currently the end of the first 0-0 right now. Looks like Canada killed off 2 penalties there in the first period.
So Sweden is not letting it go in 7 periods. So
yeah,
they're shutting it down defensively. I think their defense deserves a lot of credit. Like, that Sandin Pellikka and like Wallinder are super good offensively, but like they've been showing that they can play on the defensive side of the puck too. Like, dude, like that Sandin Pellikka kid, like I was kind of surprised he dropped to like 17. Like, he's supposed to be like top 5 to 10 last year. Like, people are saying like legit #1 defenseman on a power play. Like, he can run your power play. So that's definitely like something like Detroit's going to be getting that in the next couple of years. Dude, like, you're going to have Sider, this kid, like it looks pretty good for them in the future on the right side.
What's his name? Simon Edvinsson. Yeah, he's really good too.
That's also like he's on the left side. You got how hard it's to get a right-handed shooting defenseman, and you're going to have Sider with this kid. Like, you know what I mean? So hopefully he continues to develop. I'm honestly curious to see the rest of this game. Like, not that I thought Canada was going to like come out and smack them or anything, but I mean, I expected a little bit of scoring in the first period at least.
Same. I thought it would be maybe a bit more high scoring if you took the over here.
But is this good for Canada though, considering they're in Sweden's like territory, and you're not getting them like an early goal to get the crowd on their side or anything like that? But
then again, though, if it's 2-0 right now, you shut that crowd up really quick.
But at the same time, it's like Sweden must be feeling super confident that they haven't even let a goal yet, dude.
Yeah.
The other guy, like, I really just want to touch on quickly, we didn't really talk about this team much, is Yuri Kulich with Czechia.
He's looked really good.
He's looked really awesome. He's playing a ton, sent from Rochester in the AHL. He's played some NHL games this year with the Buffalo Sabres, scored 30 goals last year. I think he had like 11 or 12 on their playoff run last year. So he's been really solid. Czechia, like, they didn't look too great against Slovakia, which I think is not too good for them, man. Like, that's probably a team they should be beating or not losing 6-2. I'm kind of curious to see how they turn it around. Like I said, I think more of their top-end talent is not there, with Juracek not there, Svozel's not there. They still have Kulich, but we're talking about Jurchek's brother. He's out, man. Like, that's pretty much their best defenseman who's gone
that's
right
a big,
away.
big loss for him.
So I'm going to be honest. I don't see Czechia really getting out of, like, the quarterfinals, to be honest with you. That goalie have you seen him? How big he is? If you get to see Czechia
What's
play.
his name? Hrabal?
Hrabal, yeah.
Hrabal, yeah.
Dude, he's 6'7".
Yeah, he's good.
He's good. He played a little bit rough against Slovakia, but he's solid. He plays at UMass in the NCAA.
Yeah.
I'd kind of expect him to turn his game around. I don't think they're going to be going too far, but hopefully they can be at least a little bit more competitive in these last couple games here.
Yeah, overall, I think it's been a pretty decent tournament so far to start it off. I think we should wrap this up, go watch the rest of this Sweden-Canada game. This is going to be released Saturday, just a day late. We sort of wanted to do that just so we can have a bit more games and a bit more to talk to with the World Juniors because there's nothing going on with the NHL right now. For next week, I think we'll sort of discuss and figure out next week whether it's going to be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, when we're going to sort of release and when we're going to record. Just with the World Juniors going on, we want to be able to talk to as much as we can. But yeah, next week for sure it's going to be more fun. We're going to have World Juniors, a lot to talk about there. NHL is going to be back. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for listening, everybody, to episode 12.